100 feet long and 31 feet wide. On each side of the statue, bas-relief figures documented Vanderbilt's various triumphs on land and sea. To the Commodore's left were represented icons of his early days, when he'd first earned that honorific, schooners and steamships with which he'd been associated on the Hudson River, Long Island Sound, and the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. To his right, meanwhile, lingered symbols of his later conquests, trains, tunnels, bridges. And at his feet lay a cacophony of engines, cables, anchors, and wheels. Plossman's reputation as a sculptor has not endured. Works such as that described above, reviled in its own time, are the reason why. Horace Greeley, a fan of the Commodore's, who joined with Vanderbilt in the unpopular task of posting a bail bond for Jefferson Davis after the end of the Civil War, used his column in the New York Tribune to comment on the bronze, leaving other aspects of the pediment undescribed. "As a likeness," wrote Greeley, "the statue signally fails to do justice to that physiognomy, one of the finest in America, which has never yet been rendered worthily by any photograph, bronze, or picture that we have seen." The Manhattan attorney George Templeton Strong, a trustee of Columbia University and president of the New York Philharmonic Society, criticized the entire installation within the privacy of his diary. "Have inspected the grand $800,000 Vanderbilt bronze. It's a miscellaneous billing of cogwheels, steamships, primeval forests, anchors, locomotives, periaugers, petty augers we called them when I was a boy, railroad trains, wild ducks, or possibly seagulls, and squatter shanties, with a colossal Cornelius Vanderbilt looming up in the midst of the chaos and beaming benignantly down on Hudson Street like a pater patriae, draped in a dressing gown or overcoat, the folds whereof are most wooden. As a work of art, it is bestial." A patrician from an old New York family, Strong saw Vanderbilt's loud tribute to himself as confirmation of the Commodore's vulgarity, self-centeredness, and lack of couth. After all, had not the installation been partially financed, with the acquiescence of the richest man in America, by funds raised through a public subscription? Strong also noted Vanderbilt's recent naming of a state-of-the-art New York Central locomotive after himself. The Commodore's painted portrait adorned the machine's headlights, a modern smoke-and-steel version of worshipful stained glass. Strong found equally repugnant the Commodore's advertised but ultimately unrealized plan to build a 625-foot-tall Central Park monument dedicated to celebrating the men he considered America's two greatest native sons, George Washington and Cornelius Vanderbilt. Strong personally knew Vanderbilt as a detestable lout who, in the lawyer's view, failed in every test of humanity other than the financial. Thus he thought Vanderbilt's comparison of himself with Washington nothing less than absurd. The Vanderbilt of Strong's acquaintance, wantonly cruel to many of those closest to him, deeply committed to his own erotic pleasures outside of marriage, proudly unschooled, utterly devoid of manners, and devoid, too, of charity, did not in any way approach the greatness of the first among the founding fathers. Vanderbilt's Scrooge-like parsimoniousness was especially damning. "Let them do what I have done," he said, with all seriousness, citing his own rise from nothing when asked to give alms to the poor. During 1872, Mark Twain addressed Vanderbilt directly on this topic in Packard's Monthly. "All I wish to urge upon you now is that you crush out your native instincts and go and do something worthy of praise. Go and do something you need not